Hi, welcome to Coffee Break with Researchers. Today, we are at the Geography of Innovation conference in Stavanger in Norway, and I'm having a coffee break with Kevin Morgan. He's a professor of governance and development, and he's also the Dean of Engagement at Cardiff University. Coffee Break with Researchers presents you with cutting-edge insights on regional development and innovation. We ask researchers directly and in a personal manner about their work. We make scientific knowledge accessible to all. Kevin, thank you very much for accepting this invitation to have a coffee break with me. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure. I'm doing fine, thanks.
I want to talk with you today about a paper you wrote in which you investigate the debate about the role of and competence of the state of innovation and development. Could you please tell me what the paper was about?
Well, the paper was an attempt to explore the debate about the role and nature of the state in innovation and regional development in the light of new contributions to this new debate, what we call new industrial policy, and the major contributions to that debate, people like Danny Roderick, Charles Sable, Mariana Mazzucato, who had made significant contributions to this debate. And we wanted to look at that debate and draw out the implications for regional development.
Sounds very interesting. And I see the key notion of your paper is a Smart Specialisation Strategy. Could you please define it for me?
Well, smart specialisation is a unfortunate Brussels buzzword for regional innovation policy. And the core idea is to encourage regions to try to find their comparative advantages and to try to invest in those comparative advantages. That's putting it at its simplest. And the article tried to make two contributions, one to the theory, where we said these grand theories of industrial policy were fine, but they had one great problem. And that was that they neglected to think about state capacity and the problems that the public sector has in general, dealing with things like failure, feedback, and learning. And this is crucial to public sector capacity. And that capacity problem is most acute in Europe's less developed regions.
I can imagine that. So based on this notion, which ones will you say are the main findings of the paper?
I think the main findings were really twofold, really. On the theory side, we said that theorists needed to pay much more attention to the capacity of the state, the skills of the public sector, the organizational capacity, things that were important for implementing policy. So theoretically, we needed to address these problems of the public sector. Secondly, on the policy side, we showed that these problems in less developed regions, the main problem was institutional capacity. And smart specialization really exposes this like never before, because it makes more demands on the public sector than any regional policy has ever done before. And therefore it creates this paradox. The demands on the public sector are increasing, but the capacity of the public sector is decreasing because of 10 years of austerity budgets. And we explored that paradox.
I can perfectly understand that. Thank you for clarifying it. And I am very interested also in knowing your personal motivation in writing the paper. What drove you to do it?
I hope Pedro agrees with this as my co-author. My own personal motivation for doing it was to try to change the way we think and talk about the state and the public sector. For 40 years, this conversation has been conducted through the lens of neoliberalism. And the talk has always been about how to shrink the state, how to privatize it, deregulate it, or outsource it. And it's never thought positively or creatively about the state. And therefore, we think that at a time of grand or societal challenges for climate change, food security, dignified elder care, these big challenges that face all our societies, we really need a smart state, not a shrunken state. And that's the motivation, to try to create a more positive view of the state if we can get the capacity of the state right.
Thank you. How inspiring is that? And finally, I want to ask you about the policy implications of your paper.
Well, I think there are a number of policy implications. The first one is, of course, the need to invest in the capacity of the state, particularly at the regional level in less developed regions. Building public sector skill sets, as I've said, building organizational capacity. The second implication is to treat implementation seriously. Policy implementation, I think, has been the Cinderella of regional innovation policy. People are focused on the design of policy because that's where the high status stuff goes on. But implementation is a creative act. It's not a passive act. Local agents are not worker bees. And thirdly, I would say, to recognize that smart specialization is a multi-scalar strategy, not just a regional strategy. Therefore, we need extra regional support from the European level, from national level, but also we need more autonomy at the regional level to allow regions the space and the power to experiment.
Very important for regional policy making, Kevin. Thank you very much for these insights. It was a real pleasure for me to have you here in a coffee break, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in more details about this academic publication, you can find here the link below. And thank you, and see you next time. Bye-bye.